The dumbest thing I ever did on the IT service desk almost burnt me out, and it's something most IT pros still do every single day. But once I stopped doing it, not only did my stress drop, but I started adding real value to my company, all while earning more in my career. For about 4 years, I worked on service desks, and like most people, I thought my job was to smash through as many tickets as possible, one after the other, no rest, just keep hammering away. And I can already hear some of you in the comments saying, yeah mate, that's the definition of a service desk. But here's the trap. That's exactly what keeps most IT pros stuck and burnt out. There's no room for growth. Nobody gets promoted or paid more for just closing tickets faster. Another side point here, if you want to get ahead, do the opposite to pretty much everyone else around you. More on this later. The shift that I had was to go from firefighting to analysis. The day everything changed for me was when I stopped seeing tickets as work to clear and started seeing them as data to analyse. This was the moment I stopped being just a service desk agent and I started being a problem solver. I asked myself, what kind of requests keep coming through? Do we even have proper forms for users to request these things? And if we do, are they written in plain English or do you need a degree in computer science to fill them in? Now, just to be clear for anyone here who's new on the service desk, tickets and calls are often split into service requests, which is where the user wants something, like access to new software or a new laptop, and incidents, which is where something is broken for the user and they just want it to be fixed so they can carry on with their day. So once I created forms that captured exactly what IT needed while still being understandable to Bev on the switchboard and Darren in finance, boom, fewer emails, fewer tickets, faster resolutions, happier users. And that was my first taste of a win-win situation. Less stress for IT because we understood what they wanted and we had all their information that we needed, and better service for the business as well. So then I looked at incidents, and here's what really ruffled my feathers. So many calls were just password resets. And what was the attitude on our team, including me at the time? Oh, users are clueless. Well, it's not our fault. Nothing we can do. Sound familiar? So after blaming the users a little bit, I started to look inward. I started to look at our team. I started to look at the department. Can we give people a self-service reset? Do they even know that this tool exists if we have one? And are our policies helping security or just making things harder? For example, if we made users change their passwords every 6 months, would that make things more secure? Or would it actually mean that they just write it down on a piece of paper because they forget all the time because they've had to change it so often, and therefore making it less secure because they're writing it down? I'll let you figure that one out. Once we fixed this issue and we brought in the self-service password reset tool and we redirected all the users to use that instead, ticket volume dropped massively. IT stopped wasting hours every week on something that had zero business value. Tickets are just symptoms. The real job is finding the root cause and fixing it. The cause would be a problem. The effect is the incidents. Okay. So systems, processes, communications, training, somewhere something is failing. And if you solve that, you don't just do your job, you make yourself invaluable to the company and you extend your impact. So when you're just fixing one incident, it's a one-to-one relationship. You are getting paid in that hour to fix one other person's problem. They might then help their team by doing that as well, so it can kind of extend to that. But you can really scale your impact when you start refining processes and fixing problems because it turns into a one-to-many relationship. If you spend all that time to fix a problem, that means that you are saving potentially hundreds or thousands of people from experiencing that problem in the future, therefore having a kind of scalable, magnified or multiplied impact. And that's what companies actually pay more for. So for all of you ITIL qualified bods out there, of course, in this instance, the examples I've used all fall under a function called problem management, of which there is often a problem manager role in companies to facilitate. Now, if you're on the service desk and you would like to progress your career in service delivery, problem management is a very strong area to grow your skills in, and you can impact many users and IT staff if you do a good job. Well, why am I doing a problem manager's job if I'm not getting paid? You might ask. You do it so you can get paid to do it. The job market is very competitive at the moment, so a lot of the time when a post opens up for a job, the successful candidate already has at least some kind of experience in that role already. They've been doing it to some capacity already. They've positioned themselves so it is a no-brainer to the interview panel that they're the best candidate for the job. If you don't start branching out from core service desk tasks and responsibilities, you won't branch out to more senior job roles. Now, you might not perform every action a problem manager performs. You might not have the conversations with the technical teams, or you might not actually create the forms themselves. But you could export a list of incidents and requests over the last month, analyze them and look for trends, look for patterns. Do that initial work. You could then break down the trends into sections. For example, are the users having problems finding what they're looking for? Does that thing exist, but they just can't find it? That's a communication or discovery problem. And you could then speak with the person who manages that website or that portal and let them know people are having trouble finding this. Is there a way we can make this more visible or organize the page so it's easier to understand? Do we need to send communications out? Are the users having problems because the service keeps breaking? In that case, there's potential configuration problem with the service. Is the service still in support? Is a support ticket raised with the supplier to fix it? Are the supplier aware that we're having this problem? Have you researched to see if other organizations have the same problem with the same service? If so, have they had any luck in resolving it? Funnily enough, I remember investigating a problem with printing in a previous job I had, and I researched it on Reddit. I found someone else with the exact same issue, and they provided a workaround which was essentially some registry changes on a print server. We ended up applying them in my company as a fix, and because it didn't have any adverse side effects, it fixed the issue and became a permanent fix. All because I just researched on Reddit. So just because no one else on the service desk is doing these things, it doesn't mean you shouldn't. Where you see a problem, a gap or a pain point that no one else is paying attention to, you should see that as an opportunity to fix a huge problem. Start researching, asking questions, building momentum, and see what happens. Now, let me give you a bigger picture example, right? Toyota in the 1980s. UK manufacturers at that time produced 6 cars per worker. In Detroit, 14 cars per worker, and this is on their production lines. In Toyota, 46 per worker. Now, how could this be? They must have taken shortcuts, surely, and it must have had some effect on the reliability. This is Toyota, world-renowned for being the most reliable car manufacturer ever. UK car manufacturers, on the other hand, were hardly the best example of quality and reliability, right? So how did they do it? By obsessing over root causes, standardization, and lean systems. They used the 5 whys. They fixed problems once so they wouldn't come back again. And that's exactly the shift IT pros need to make. Stop resetting password, build the system that resets itself. You'll hear me say this a lot. Stop doing X, X being any task, build a system that does X. And there'll be more on that in future videos that I make. So how do you actually do this in your own IT job? Where do you start? Here's a 3-step framework you can steal from me. 1, track and categorize. Don't just close tickets, group them and spot the patterns. Are there people from particular departments or job roles that are raising tickets with you? Is a particular service failing them, or are they having trouble finding a particular thing? What's the problem they have? Is it that it's not working or they can't find it? Look at these areas in particular, the tool or the service itself, the user's understanding about that tool, the ability for the user to help themselves, and what business function they're trying to fulfill with that tool. Ask yourself why 3 to 5 times. Get to the real cause, not just the surface issue here. And be honest with yourself. Here's the tough part. Look at yourself. Look at your own team. Look at your buddying teams that you get on with really well and have lunch with, because the problem could lie in there, or part of the problem at least. And it's quite hard here, but you have to be objective in this situation. Consider that it might be your team that isn't handling this as well as it could be. Remove the emotions from the table as much as you can and think, are we doing everything we can to make this as easy for the users as possible? This is the same question Apple and Amazon relentlessly ask themselves. They remove as much friction as possible between the user and what they want to achieve. This teleprompter I'm using right now, I just had to think when I was on that page and it just said, yeah, I've taken your money, it's getting delivered tomorrow. Excellent, but not so much on my bank account. So the same can be applied in IT service management, as it can in e-commerce or selling electronic devices. Number 3, propose improvements. One system or process fix per month is more than enough to make yourself stand out. Now, you might feel that you're being annoying when you speak to your manager or other people about changing things. You might feel like you're being a bit of a pain, or that you're making silly suggestions that no one will take you seriously when suggesting. You might even think, and this is a doozy that I hear a lot, well, if there was a better way, someone else would have already thought about it, right? And this is wrong on so many levels, because people do what people do. People look around in any job role, they see what their team members are doing, and they copy them. It is very rare for people to stop and question things that they're doing and see what they're doing, what the purpose is behind it, and if there's a better way of getting the same outcome. If everyone is copying everyone, then nothing new happens and no improvements are made. Again, do the opposite to most people. Where other people are coasting along, they're keeping busy, and they're churning through the tickets, take a step back and look at what the data is telling you. Ask questions. Understand that these tickets are a message. They are coming downstream from something. What is upstream that is causing them? An out-of-date or poorly designed system? A lack of awareness? A lack of training? The more you dig, often the more interesting it gets. Do this and stop just being ticket closer number 47. You become the person who actually wants to move the business forward. And copy what works. And here's a bonus mindset, a Brucey bonus, if you will. Shamelessly copy what works. Well, I thought you said do the opposite to most people. Yes, and I stand by that. The key word being most. And this is because most people aren't doing what works. They're not doing things that get a beneficial outcome, which is why, unfortunately, most people are stagnant in certain positions. Most people are physically unfit. They're mentally unfit. They're struggling because most people are not doing the thing that is best for them. They're doing the thing that satiates their most immediate desires. Most people get average to poor results because they're not doing what works, right? Only 1 to 5% of people are doing what works. And this transcends IT service management way into the realms of physical and mental health and relationships, as I just stated. So find the people who are getting great results, great outcomes, and shamelessly copy them while adding your personal and unique flavor. So when I say that, if you want to get physically fit, look at the person who is carrying 2 children on their shoulder, or has been walking around all day and isn't out of breath, or is visibly in good shape. Ask them what they do. Ask them what their habits are. Ask them how they get there. People who you admire at work, catch their ear over a cup of coffee. Find out how their mind works. Find out how they think about things. And you'll find out how they get the outcomes they get. So back on the topic of copying things that work. Toyota copied European car designs. Japan copied the Lotus Elan to make the MX-5. They didn't reinvent it, they improved. There's a reason why I have an MX-5 on my driveway and not a Lotus. Lotus stands for lots of trouble, usually serious. And in IT, it's the same deal. Don't try to invent a brand new process if one already works elsewhere. Steal it, adapt it to the team or the process that you're going to improve, and make it better. If you really want me to guide you to the answer here, you can use ChatGPT Deep Research to scour Reddit or any other large online data set and find other people or companies who use the same service you have problems with or have the same problem you have, and find out how they either fixed or avoided a problem. You can literally find this 1 to 5% of people who are doing things in the most effective way, which is giving them the best return on investment. You can see exactly how they're approaching it. And spoiler alert, you might find as you dig, there are fundamental issues with how identity management is configured in your IT department. This is a very common one I've found. You might find that by shifting to role-based access control in HR, finance, or IT systems, you could resolve 1 to 2 to 3 massive problems within your team, mainly around too much access being given or issues with joiners, movers, and leavers. The solution is not always easy. Much like how building a business isn't easy, or maintaining a strong body and mind isn't easy. But the first step is knowing what the problem is. The second step is knowing what this problem is costing you by not resolving it. The third step is to then either put in the work to resolve the problem and put a stop to the issues that appear downstream. So for example, an issue with your identity management causing loads of tickets because when someone leaves, we don't know what their HR account is because their HR account isn't linked to their IT account. That could be one instance. Or the problem of me being weak is costing me valuable family time with my son because I'm constantly out of breath, or I'm struggling to enjoy holiday because by the time I've walked 10,000 steps, I'm completely out of breath. So that's the problem that's happening downstream. The root cause is I'm unfit. So at this point, you can look to either address the problem as hard as it may be, or you accept the problem for what it is. You don't fix it and you face the consequences. It becomes a lot easier to have conversations at work when you know what the root cause is, and you are more likely to gain momentum and the trust from management when you can associate issues with root causes, and you know the cost to the business moving forward if you don't fix them. If the root cause is not highlighted, this can cause an insidious effect where some IT teams can downplay the effect of using an outdated structure, methodology, or service, when it could be the underlying root cause of 20 to 30% of service desk tickets. And on the flip side, an IT team, a technical team, could declare this shortfall to a senior management. They could warn them about it, only to be told that there is no budget to fund the transition to the new structure, the new methodology, or the new service. In both of these situations, the best solution is to provide the data, link the impact of this problem, so how much time is it causing? How many incidents are raised due to this root cause? How much is it costing the organization, and how many hours are users losing? How many years is the company going to continue using this service? Is it Azure AD or is it the HR service? That issue isn't going away, and it's going to continue to haunt that company and affect it and cost it a lot of money until the company no longer exists. So once you document and provide a business case for the change, then you've done all you can do. And the best thing about this is any future conversation around either the problem itself or the symptoms, the things that happen downstream, you've already had that conversation. You've already done the working out, and you can bring people back to this report or this proposal that you've made. And that shortcuts these conversations so much because you can say, well, we discussed this last month or last year. These are the symptoms and this is the root cause. This is what we need to do to fix it. And you'll be surprised how many times it comes back to that. I often used to think that middle to senior management meetings must be like, some of the brightest minds in the world in there having these amazing conversations. And it was actually quite depressing to learn that a lot of these conversations were just repeat conversations about what things deserved a budget and what things can be kicked further down the road. And this isn't a discredit to the people in those meetings necessarily, but it's just the reality of being in an IT department in a company that has a budget. So how did I stop burning out? I stopped firefighting. I stopped playing whack-a-mole with tickets and I started preventing fires. I zoomed out, I analysed the data, and I solved problems where I could at the root. That shift took me from exhausted and replaceable to valuable, promoted and better paid. So if you're ambitious in IT and you don't want to be stuck on the service desk forever or whatever role you're in, subscribe to my channel. I'll show you how to go from burnt out ticket pusher to someone companies fight to keep. And if you want more career tips, I can share loads more over on my Instagram, which is at adamfrankham_lifecoaching. Thanks for watching, and well done, by the way, for still having an attention span in 2025 and making it to the end of the video. Cheers.